Today on Election Brief, Electoral Commission to rely on a yet-to-mature CI in Parliament to allow vote transfer for senior high school students.
What the Commission said yesterday was that...
We'll bring you more on that. Now, there is chaos at the Asato Community Registration Center in the Oti region as NDC agents and executives object to the registration of some people they claim are non-residents. There's more on that, and the registration of qualified senior high school students begins in the country.
Classes will still go on. It will not disrupt our classes. Those who have attained the required age or eligible to vote, they will come. And as you can see, we have arranged seats here.
I'm Mara Kumsi. We are live on your DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. We are also live on your digital terrestrial television because we're free to air. We're also live on myjoyonline.com. Stay tuned. Thanks for your company. Now, the Electoral Commission says it will rely on a CI or constitutional instrument, which is yet to mature in Parliament, that will allow students to transfer their votes from wherever they may be on election day. According to the Commission, processes for the transfer are expected to commence in October. Minutes after news broke out about the Commission's decision to register students at the various schools, some political parties and a section of the public raised a number of concerns, including a breach in the regulation governing the registration exercise, the safety of the students, as well as the difficulty of transferring their votes. But addressing the second edition of the Let the Citizens Know series, Deputy EC Chair Dr. Bosman Asari said they will rely on gazetted registration centers to cue concerns of breaching the regulation. Well, the Deputy Chair in charge of operations, Samuel Tete, also revealed the Commission has put in place measures to address overcrowding at centers where there is disregard for the social distancing protocols.
The Commission has made provision for additional chairs for applicants to sit on at the registration centers. And at centers where we have overcrowding, the Commission has increased the number of chairs to 200 and above. An example of such place or centers is what we have in Odododio. It has been a center where we have so many people in the queue, and the Commission has made available enough chairs for them to sit on to address this issue of social distance.
Now let's talk about the registration processes proper, because registration stalled for about an hour when officials and agents of the NDC objected to the registration of some 8 persons believed not to be residents of that community. The chaos started when the General Secretary of the party, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, and the Regional Chairman, John Kwejo Japong, visited some registration centers in the Akan constituency on Friday. Alhaji Yusuf is the Akan constituency chairman for the NDC. The furore intensified when the MPP agents disagreed with the NDC, which stalled the registration process for about an hour. Peter Seno is on the grounds. He joins us via Zoom. Peter, we understand the General Secretary of the NDC is visiting some registration centers in the Oti region. What has he been saying? First of all, before we come to what he's been saying, has that issue, that scuffle been addressed? Tell us more about that.
I stood here and asked the guy, please, where are you?
You got a voice, that's all. I can't hear them.
So you had, or you saw there the visuals of that scuffle between supporters of the NDC as well as supporters of the NPP. Joining us via Zoom is correspondent Peter Senu. Peter, explain to us what's going on in that visual that we're seeing right there. We understand that there was some scuffle between NDC and NPP activists there.
We are even at a different polling station with the same issue coming up. About people suspecting that other people who are in the queue trying to register are non-residents. And so this is Islamic Registration Center at Mimpiasem, also in the Akan constituency. The earlier one you saw was the Asatu Community Registration Center. So this is just another incident of what happened earlier in the morning. And so the police have been called in. It is just about people who are coming to register, and the community folks say they do not know them, and so they would have to get out of the queue so that they could go to wherever they are coming from to register. And so the police are just here to calm situation.
Clearly, some of these incidents are expected to come up at these registration centers. But how are the officials, electoral officials, resolving these problems as they come up?
Well, they are only explaining that.
Unfortunately, we lost Peter Senu there, but we'll be going back to him for an update on that situation. Meanwhile, voter registration has begun in various senior high schools in the country as the Electoral Commission gears up for the December elections. The minority in Parliament has described the move by the Commission to extend the ongoing exercise to the schools as illegal, with the Minority Chief Whip, Muntaka Mubarak, describing the move by the Commission as a breach of CI 91. JoyNews' Maxwell Agba visited Presec Legon and the Achimota schools here in the Greater Accra region, and this is what he found.
And here at Presec Legon, it is one of the centers that the registration is going to take place. So you can see behind me, the setup is ready for the registration to start. All the chairs here are arranged in accordance with the social distancing protocol. The registration officials are yet to arrive here on the ground, but there's an NDC party agent. The NDC party agents are actually waiting.
My name is Kofi Yesu, the Senior House Master of Presec Legon. An announcement has been made to all students concerning those who have attained the age of 18 and beyond. And the regulation is that classes will still go on. It will not disrupt our classes, but the teachers who have been detailed to be part of this exercise, they will be going from class to class. And those who have attained the required age or eligible to vote, they will come. And as you can see, we have arranged seats here for them. So the numbers that we have here are close to 100. So when they come, you sit, and when it's your turn, you move in, do your registration, and go back to class. Though it's a national exercise, but we will not allow it to disrupt classes. So the arrangement as I've given you, that is how we are going to go by. That is, you'll be in class. Classes will go on. When it's your turn to vote, register, then the teachers will bring you here. Quickly you do it and go back and continue academic work.
We have an NDC agent here with us.
Usman. Okay, so ours is to ensure that, you know, at the end of the registration period or day, we do a tally. So we have to make sure that the total number of people, students who will be able to register today, will tally with what we are doing. So we have something we call, that's the daily sheets.
We are here at the new assembly hall of the Achimota school, and the school is here in the Okankwin North District.
I'm the district registration supervisor. We are registering Achimota secondary school, senior high school students. But before the students were coming, the teachers had wanted to be registered first, because most of the students haven't gotten a verification document. That is to say, Ghana card or a passport. So when they register, they will in turn guarantee for the students, so that we can also register them.
Okay. But wouldn't that create any problems?
No, they are teachers. You can never leave them out, since they are within the school. So you cannot, once the opportunity has come on their way, you must use it.
Okay. So there are some party agents here, some of them taking this up there. Let's see if they can speak to us.
I came in not quite long, so I'm just trying to cross-check what he has already, and then I can input into my data column. And then for what we'll be looking out for, since it's the school, we're looking at maybe the students should comport themselves so that no one walk out contracting any of the COVID-19.
Now, your election headquarters will today begin its flagship program, the Joy Ballot Box, from the Hohoe municipality in the Volta region. It's going to be an all-inclusive community engagement on pertinent issues that will influence the voters' choice in election 2020. Youth employment is certainly going to be one of those featuring promptly at this event. About 21% of the youth-focused group in Hohoe say they will vote for a government that will address unemployment among the teeming youth in the area. Florence Makafui Alavi is a youth leader and one of the participants of the Joy Ballot Box. She joins me via Zoom shortly. But first, a look at what will inform the voting pattern in Hohoe. And as you can see there, 58 people wrote that they want their roads addressed, and that is representing 48.3%. On employment, 26 people said that they wanted government to address issues to deal with employment. That represents 21.67%. 14 people had issues about education. That represents 11.6%. On health, we had 2 people writing about what government would do to address issues of health. That represents 1.67%. Economy, 9 people had a lot to say about that. That represents 7.5%. Social inclusion, 1 person, that represents 0.83%. Security, 6 people had a lot to say about that. That represents 5%. And on governance, 4 people had issues with that, and they want to know what government wants to do with regards to governance, or rather whether that will actually influence their vote in 2020, and that is 3.33%. So let's go on the line via Zoom and then speak to Florence. Florence, many thanks for your time. What kind of jobs are your constituents seeking? Because a lot of them said that they will be influenced by what any government or candidates will do about unemployment in the December election.
Thank you so much for having me here. Please, can you come again with the question? I didn't hear you well.
I'm saying that when we spoke to a lot of your constituents, especially the youth, they say that employment is what will influence their vote in the December 2020 polls. And I'm asking, what kind of jobs are your constituents seeking?
Okay, good. Most of the people from Hohoe are youth. So first of all, we need vocational training, especially fashion designing, getting people to learn more about fashion, because we realize that fashion is taking control over the world now. So we need people that would train the youth in Hohoe to go into fashion designing. Also, sports. We need a sports stadium so that they get to train and get work to do themselves. Also, agriculture. We have a lot of fertile lands in Hohoe municipality, and it will be a great important that we encourage youth to go into agriculture, farming.
Let's talk about you yourself. What will influence your vote in December 2020? What will influence your decision to vote for whichever candidates that's standing for president in December?
Okay. My agenda for development, since Hawaii is a hub for Accra and Northern region.
Right.
So we want a good road, especially the good road. That's all that will influence me to cast a vote for someone,
right.
Someone who is willing to do a good road for us, make sure that the youth are employed. They are not only idle around doing nothing. We just need those things and we're okay to go.
All right, so that means you fall within the 48.3%, which says that they want to know what government will do about their roads. Okay, so very quickly, I mean, we are about some 3 hours away from the ballot box event in Hohoi. What are your expectations?
Yeah. I pray that our program will be interactive. The incoming MPs will make sure that they answer our questions truthfully, tell us what they really want to do for us when we vote them into power. Not that they say different things altogether and when they are voted into power, they do different things. We want them to do what exactly they promised to do for us. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Florence Alavi is a youth leader in Hohoi, and heard her. She wants the politicians to, do good on their promises. If you promise something, do it, she says. Now, the Joy Ballot Box will be live at 5 p.m. on the Joy News channel right here, Joy FM radio, and across the world on myjoyonline.com as well as all our social media platforms. So remember to add the hashtag the Joy Ballot Box and hashtag ElectionHQ, because this is your election headquarters. Now let's turn our attention on the opposition NDC, which is today alleging that the Electoral Commission is executing a plot by President Akufo-Addo to manipulate the processes for the 2020 general elections. In its clearest attack yet, the NDC at a news conference said the decision by the Electoral Commission is already inflating registration figures from MPP strongholds and reducing those from the NDC strongholds. Here is Director of Elections of the NDC, Elvis Efria Ankra.
The EC invited political parties, and as has become a modus operandi, informed us of their next immediate move. They intend to register qualified SHS students currently in school. As we have demonstrated so far, the NDC ordinarily supports the idea of inclusivity in principle and would always welcome any move to enroll all eligible potential voters onto the register. However, we reiterate our position that the EC must at all times operate within its laws, its own laws. To this end, we remind the EC that according to CI 91, they are required to gazette a designated polling center for 21 days. In the absence of that, any so-called registration center, be it in a school or elsewhere, is illegal. It is true that the EC was quick to refer to their mandate as prescribed by CI 91, but they conveniently left out portions of the same CI that compels them to gazette for a defined number of days. We refer you, ladies and gentlemen, to Regulation 2, Paragraph 3 of the CI 91. And it states, and I quote, "The Commission shall at least 21 days before the first day of the national registration of voters inform political parties and the general public by publication in the Gazette of a place it designates as a registration center." Indeed, this is the law, and it's very clear, and it's in black and white. And it's not for fun that the EC is meant to gazette for 21 days. is for specific reasons, so that political parties will know and citizens will know well in advance, so that they can put all measures and preparations in place. But lo and behold, they haven't done that. This is another demonstration of the chronic deceit of the Jane Mensah and Bosman Asare-led EC, even at this late hour.
He also alleged that the decision to reopen schools for final year SHS students is not for the purposes of writing examination as claimed by the government, but rather a ploy to get them onto the electoral roll. And he's also questioning why the president and other top government officials would go into isolation and yet send out people's children to congregate in schools.
It has come to light that the decision by government to send final year and gold track students to school had nothing to do with preparation towards examination, but the hidden agenda was to assemble them for registration. So we've had the Minister of Information giving hints that it's possible that there could be a partial lockdown anytime soon after the registration. So what is this whole agenda about sending the students back to school about? Send them back to school under the guise of writing examination. The students are virtually hostages in the schools because their parents are not allowed to see them. You all recall what happened at Accra Girls. When they have no other option. They say they should register them. They will register them, and then subsequently, in spite of the fact that the COVID numbers are going up, and medical science, the doctors, even parents are asking that the school should be closed down so that students can come home. Because when you cluster students, they're going to bath together, eat together, sleep together, go to class together. You expose them to more risk and danger. This is science. This is common sense. And yet, because they want to register them, they are insisting that they will do that. They will continue to register them, irrespective of the evidence on the ground. And so they will do that. Once they get them registered, then they will say, well, the numbers are going up, so we are doing a partial lockdown. Students go back to school. So it's despicable. How many students should die before Nana Akufo-Addo and Jane Mensah will let us alone in peace? So going forward, we know they didn't create COVID-19, but they are responsible for the actions that they take, irresponsible actions that they take that will aggravate an already bad situation. Therefore, any child that dies, God forbid, in any of these institutions, their blood is on the head of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Jane Mensah and her EC. This is against the backdrop that some government institutions have shut down for fear of the spread of the virus. The NDC believes that the government is unnecessarily exposing the school children and bringing them in harm's way, whereas the president himself and other high-profile public personalities like the Chief Justice have gone into isolation for fear of coming into contact with people who have tested positive to COVID-19. All efforts to shut down schools in the face of positive cases recorded has proven futile.
From the NDC, let's turn our attention to the MPP, and some MPP polling station executives in the Kiapim North constituency are asking an Accra High Court for an order of injunction restraining the MPP from presenting the incumbent MP, Ama Dukia Isiama, to the Electoral Commission as the party's candidate for the constituency without convening an extraordinary delegates conference. The polling station executives represented in court by Stephen Asare Darko argue that the party disregarded its own constitution requiring an extraordinary delegates conference to select a parliamentary candidate for the constituency. Maxwell Kudako has more.
The polling station executives aver that unless the Honorable Court intervene, their constitutional rights as delegates of the New Patriotic Party has been severely violated, is being violated and will be irreversibly violated by the party. The polling station executive represented in court by Stephen Asaridonko and 7 others argue that the party's constitution required an extraordinary delegate conference to select a parliamentary candidate for the constituency. However, the party disregarded this constitutional provision and election regulations deliberations and surreptitiously called a meeting of carefully selected members of the constituency to a private residence where they purportedly nominated and declared the incumbent member of parliament for the Kwapino constituency, Honorable Ahmad Dokuesiama, as the MPP's parliamentary candidate for the December 2020 election.
Yeah. For some time now, we went for, a vetting, and then as three contestants, we were told that two of them were disqualified. That is lawyer Philip Addison and then Dr. Chumesi. There's a case about 430 of the delegates. We pushed for this agenda to find out why they were disqualified by taking a petition to the party office. Unfortunately, till now, as I speak, nobody has, written to us or replied us. And then these people sneaked, that is the constituency and then the regional executives, they sneaked by coming to a Akropong to do an acclamation quietly in somebody's home. That was around 6 a.m. in the morning. They took about 35 of our members, and then they sneaked themselves to do this acclamation, of which I know they're supposed to go to almost every electoral area to show the PC to the delegates. This thing was not done. Nobody knew about it, and then they did it.
And that will be all for Election Brief for today. But remember, the Joy Ballot Box will be live at 5 p.m. on the Joy News channel, Joy FM on radio, and across the world on myjoyonline.com, as well as all our social media platforms. Remember to add the hashtag, the Joy Ballot Box, and the hashtag ElectionHQ, because after all, this is your election headquarters. I'm Barbara Kumson. Thank you for your time.